Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features classic X-Men number 13, the backup story entitled Lifesigns, and this is the back cover, penciled and inked by John Bolton. It's an intriguing back cover because it doesn't feature any recognizable X-Man. Instead, you can see very well what it features: a woman falling in the water and a shark making directly for her. So intriguing stuff. Who is this person? Let's take a look at the front cover to this issue of Classic X-Men. You can see that it is by Art Adams, inked by Al Williamson, and featuring Phoenix and Firelord. Let's open up the inside cover for the credits. There's a nice spot illustration there of Lilandra by Arthur Adams and inked by Al Williamson and dated the 27th of March 87. The creative team for the backup story, the 12 pages of story and art entitled Lifesigns: Chris Claremont, writer as ever, John Bolton, pencils and inks, letters by Tom Orzechowski, and colors by Petra Scotese. So let's go find that backup story. There it is. It opens with a splash. There's the title, and you've got the zigzag there indicating Life Signs indeed, and it's Jean Grey, and she is sitting on a beach in front of a bonfire, and we have third-person narration, and this is classic poetic Claremont prose, so it is worth reading. Caress of the onshore breeze on her back, while the fire roasty toasts her front, counterpointed by the eternal hissing shrush of waves against the shore. That's an interesting piece of diction there, shrush. I'm not entirely sure as I read it now whether that is, to quote Ralph Wiggum, a perfectly cromulent word or not. But let's continue with the rest of the prose. She stares into the heart of the blaze, where hard edges lose their definition, boundaries fading between fuel and flame, wood cast in flickering, flashing strikes of molten gold. She watches electrons spin faster in orbital paths around their atomic nuclei, filling themselves with energy, casting off old structures, forming new, transitioning joyously, spontaneously from one state of matter to another. She listens to the sound of driftwood popping unheard on her submolecular level of perception, booming thunder on another, finally soft and gentle, familiar in her ears. So much about life is the same as it always was, yet everything is different, brand new. Her name is Jean Grey. There are many words to describe her: mutant, mind reader, telekinetic, woman, X-Man, hero. Among them all, both the least and greatest is a single term: human. She is Phoenix, and for her nothing will ever be the same again. So this story explores the emotional consequences of Jean's bonding with the Phoenix Force, and this story takes place somewhere between issue 110 of Uncanny X-Men and 111. So let's continue, and there is our character from the back cover. It's Misty Knight with her distinctive afro there. And in the third-person narration, we're told: nearby, new thoughts, solitude broken, welcome presence, friend and roommate, Misty Knight. A little shaken by the ocean's force, old fear of drowning, mixed with exultation at having emerged triumphant, mixed with concern, affection, care for Jean, mixed with unaccustomed feeling of relaxation. So safe here, so secure, let her guard down, no need for defenses. Mixed with a tinge of guilt at her deep down desire to prolong this idyll, not go back to city, to job, to gun, maybe kill, be killed. Misty's too tired to move, and Jean too weary to shut out the cacophonic hullabaloo blasting from Misty's head. So Misty there is thinking, this looks like John Bolton might have used some photo reference for this particular pose. No sign of Danny or Colleen. Wonder where they got to? Jean knows. Without a word she tells, images ghosting through Misty's consciousness as lover and partner stroll to Daniel Rand's beach house, where all four are staying this weekend. gathering a midnight snack. They'll be back soon. Body rests, mind works overtime on overdrive. Jean watches the dream with her mind as dream form rises pensive and thoughtful, and the beach becomes a dreamscape. So this is really interesting. Colleen is sleeping on the beach after her swim. Jean has her back to her, is looking into the fire, but is observing Colleen's dream. Sorry, not Colleen, but Misty's dream, rather. Changing before Misty's eyes to fit her mood. City, mile-high towers gleaming above, shadows below, filled with victims and predators. Hunted and hunters. No honour, no grace, no joy. Existence, a dog-eat-dog, hard scrabble fight for survival. Danger all around, life forever on the edge. That's a really great drawing there of that curved perspective, that kind of fisheye perspective of the dreamscape skyscrapers. And there is Colleen Wing saying, our world, Misty. Someone has to stand up for the helpless, cut the sharks down to size. I say it's us. Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, Daughters of the Dragon. So we see a transformation of her there into an armoured costume. And she turns and she's got a look of doubt and concern on her face. You want me to be like you, Colleen? The born warrior, untouchable, with armour around my heart and soul, thicker on my body? Maybe you're right, but part of me looks the other way. Hearts leaping at the sight of this man, her man, so unlike any she's ever known. Calm, serene, too innocent to be believed, yet in other ways older than time. His world is green and growing. No hard edges, no knives, no screams. A place of infinite possibilities. As full of joy as Colleen seems bereft of it, and yet, much as she loves him, yearns to bond herself completely to him, she cannot abandon Colleen. There's a different kind of love, that's a different kind of love, but no less fierce, demanding, integral to her very being. So she's kind of got attraction to both Daniel Rand, aka Iron Fist, and Colleen Wing, her partner, and she is then confronted by a surprise that casts a shadow behind her. And what about me? And Misty is taken aback, and she sees the Phoenix force manifesting as the flame bird, the firebird. Where do I fit in, if any place at all? And Misty asks, what are you? A friend, says Jean as she emerges from the flames, who needs a friend. And Colleen is in fear and cries out a negative no. So many thoughts and emotions, as multi-leveled as existence itself. Some buried down so deep, Misty isn't the slightest bit aware of them. Yet to Jean, they're as plain as the stars in the sky. No secrets, nothing hidden, nothing sacred. Before this total psi scan was beyond her capability. Now it's second nature, as casually done as breathing. And Jean says here, still looking at the fire, you cried out, anything wrong? So thin a line, Jean muses between looking and manipulating. So thin, so temptingly terrible. So that dark side is within Jean, courtesy of the Phoenix Force. And of course we all know where that is going to lead to. It's going to lead to ultimately Dark Phoenix. And Colleen answers the question, anything wrong? Or sorry, not Colleen, Misty answers the question, anything wrong? As she passes in front of the fire, you. So that is pretty ominous. We haven't known each other long, she says as she sits down, Jean, but I figure we've become solid friends. So they're roommates. They each share an apartment in Manhattan. And Misty continues, a lot closer than I feel to folks I've known my whole life. And Jean concurs, but lately you've changed, says Misty, more than you know. In the hospital, says Misty, after you came back from space, you asked me how I'd feel if I had died and then brought myself back to life. That's what happened up there to you. And Jean says, essentially. And I like the body language that Bolton has come up for her, where she's resting her folded arms on her knees. It's like an upright fetal position, self-protective. I can't remember much of it, says Jean contemplatively. And to tell the truth, I'm glad. But I'm not the woman I was. I look, act, feel like am Jean Grey. But there's always a but. But what? I don't know. But I am what I'm becoming. Why? And that scares me, Misty, more than you can possibly imagine. And now we're not just going to have this heart-to-heart type conversation for the rest of the story. Instead, there's a complication in the plot, a cry for help, agony of body and emotion as flesh is torn, blood stains the water, a baby's bright days suddenly cruelly ended. So Jean rushes towards the sea, out on the ocean. There's a family in trouble, she exclaims, broadcasting reassurance as she runs, trying to pinpoint the threat, cursing when she finds a consciousness too primitive, too elementally primal for telepathy to affect. Switching channels using TK to start the engines of Danny's new toy, a Scarab cigarette boat. Here it is. She jumps into the speedboat to the rescue. Where do you think, she says to Colleen. Wait, you can't. Not alone. Jean, this is crazy. So Jean uses her TK to grab Colleen and bring her into the speedboat. Sorry about that, Misty. Didn't mean to startle you, but bringing you aboard telekinetically was the quickest way, and time is of the essence to rescue the family in trouble. But which family, eh? So Misty asks Jean, how do you know where we're going? And Jean replies, I can see the family's position in the parents' thoughts. It's a few miles out, but the trip shouldn't take this beauty long. She really moves. And indeed, in a matter of minutes, this is the place, says Jean, and she dives into the water. And Misty there is looking around fearfully, can't even make out Long Island, too dark, too far away. I hate the ocean. She says, hate this waiting. Worse than any drug bust stakeout. Wish I had my gun. I wish I had proper private eye nerves of steel. And then she sees a dorsal fin in the water and exclaims, shark. No answer. Don't know if she heard. Got to assume she didn't. Got to cover for her. So this is a brave move, diving in to the water with that shark there circling around. You'd rather think it's not the smartest move, but it sure is brave. And then as she sinks into the water, and this is giving us more or less our back cover on this particular page, heck of a time to discover Jean has limitations. I was beginning to think she could do anything. Scary the way she seems to look right through you, like she knows your every thought and feeling. So then she starts asking proper questions like, what am I doing here? I was terrified by the fake shark in Jaws. This brood is bigger. And so this is something I'd forgotten before reading this particular story in preparation for the video. And that is that Misty Knight has a bionic arm. And so she punches the shark in the nose there. This is really great work, of course, by John Bolton. It's a really believable shark. And then, of course, there's a Jaws reference there. And we have to have a Jaws allusion here by Bolton to the original movie poster. It's also the case that while Jaws, the original movie, came out in 1975, a decade before this story, in 1987, Jaws the Revenge, in effect the fourth movie in the franchise, was released. So it may be that seeing the posters for that around town and or going to see the movie itself, that's the one with Michael Caine in it, it's universally regarded as terrible, might have prompted him to write this particular story, which is much, much better than Jaws the Revenge. In any case, Misty there is caught in the back by the shark, and she's in absolute fear there, pitching me out of the water. His skin's like sandpaper. I'm coming down hard, disoriented, get my bearings. I didn't want to die. Think. I don't want to die. Think. Don't flounder. Keep fear under control. Be smart, be hard, be brave. There's the shark. I'm dead, she thinks to herself. And look at those gaping jaws there with the teeth. And then, unexpectedly, a twist. But then, silvery shape flashes in the ocean shadows. Shark spasms viciously as it struck with terrible force in the side. And so that's what we see there. It's hit again and again and quickly loses interest in Misty, swimming off in search of easier prey. Really great work by Bolton on these fish, the dolphin, the shark. I'm sure he was using photo reference, but incorporates it very well into the storytelling. Air never tasted so sweet when Misty regains the surface and gulps that first magnificently huge breath. The boat's close at hand. She's quickly aboard. This is really well done too, as she lifts herself out of the water, braced on the edge of the boat there. And here we have the dolphin. Your back's rubbed pretty raw, but otherwise you're okay, says Jean. I'd have been dinner if that dolphin hadn't showed up. And Jean says, I know. I was too far away and busy to help when I telepathically heard your cry. So I asked one of the dolphins to stand in for me. He was glad to. Sharks are their ancient enemy, and as well, since you were risking your life for his family, he felt it was only fair he returned the favour. So that shocks Misty. What? You mean I scared myself silly? I almost got killed for a family of fish? And Jean retorts, hardly fish. They're mammals, as intelligent and sophisticated in their own way as we. But Misty's not happy yet. Well, excuse me all to blazes, she says, if that doesn't cut much ice. They're still not people, not worth my life. And Jean continues and says, all that depends on your point of view. No sense of dislocation, simply between one word and the next. She's in the water, looking up at herself, and Jean too, full of surprise, at first to panic. And then too full of wonder, as she hears Jean's voice in her thoughts. Don't worry, Misty. I've just placed your consciousness in rapport with the mother dolphin. A flash response, acerbic, too automatically quick to check. You might have asked. Laughter. With a flick of her tail, she's away, gliding, sweeping, rolling, rocketing, streaking, cavorting through the depths. That's classic Claremont, the catalogue of verbs. She's never known such strength coupled with such grace, and can't help laughing herself, fear and anger cast away, as she bubbles over with effervescent joy. The family joins her, greetings exchanged, the babies as irrepressibly fascinated with her as she is with them. Excitement sobered, saddened by their recent loss. So they did lose a baby dolphin. Tears sting as she feels the mother's keening grief. A resonance fills the water, through her body to her soul. The song of the great whales, offering welcome and inviting them to join them. Humbled and hesitant, she accepts, adding her own human-flavoured accents to their magnificent chorus. So this is completely unexpected from the opening of the story, and totally unexpected in an X-Men comic, but this is exactly the kind of thing that Chris Claremont was capable of writing, and in particular for these backup stories that allowed him to give expression to his imagination for more emotionally significant stories and offbeat stories and strange explorations of characters' powers that don't have to do with fighting supervillains. And last page now, page 12, the sea stretches far and away. Click whistle, Delphine sonar, painting a picture of her surroundings so complete it takes her breath away. She sees the shark but now understands him as well. The dolphins are creatures of light and wit and brilliance, while he is one of ages-old instinct, eternal as the oceans. They are the present, leaping gaily towards the unknown future. He is the anchor to the past, the dawn of the world and life. They change, it remains forever the same. In the pattern of existence, the shark, for all its seeming cruelty, has its proper purpose. And here we go. Once again, arch themes of Chris Claremont's work. It is the shadow without which the light has no meaning. This particular theme runs through so much of his work. Light and shadow mutually codependent, and each has its place in the rich tapestry of life and creation. All things have their place, Misty, says Jean. Even me. And Misty replies, I'm still scared, I know, she says. That's just it. You know. Everything you touch, my dreams, read my thoughts, bounce my head from one body to another. Nobody should have such power. But I'm stuck with it, says Jean. Maybe that's why I need my friends to stand by me. I'm Phoenix, Misty, but that doesn't make me any the less human. Where it matters, like those dolphins, all I ask is that you take me as I am. And Misty is reconciled now with Jean. An hour ago, I didn't know if I could. Now, after all you've shown me, how can I refuse? And off swim the family of dolphins. Next, the stuff of dreams. Yeah, so a really striking story. Unexpected, inventive, heartfelt, and an interesting exploration, as I said at the very beginning, of what it means for Jean to be bonded with the Phoenix Force, an exploration of what that means for her in respect of her friendships and how people are initially afraid of her because of her godlike power, and different from how that was explored when her story was co-plotted by Byrne and Claremont, and where there was much more emphasis on the intrigue and mystery of Mastermind's manipulation of Jean, as well as conventional superheroics and action. Well, I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Lifesigns, the backup story to classic X-Men, issue number 13. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.